Chapter 15, Improvement in Food Resources. We know that all living organisms need food. Food supplies protein, carbohydrate, fats, vitamins, and minerals, all of which we require for body development, growth, and health. Both plants and animals are major sources of food for us. We obtain most of this food from agriculture and animal husbandry. We read in newspaper that efforts are always being made to improve production from agriculture and animal husbandry. Why is this necessary? Why we cannot make do with the current levels of production? India is a very populous country. Our population is more than 1 billion people and it is still growing. As food for this growing population, we will soon need more than a quarter of billion tons of grain everywhere. This can be done by farming on more land. But India is already intensively cultivated. As a result, we do not have any major scope for increasing the area of land under cultivation. Therefore, this is necessary to increase our production efficiency for both crops and livestock. Efforts to meet the food demand by increasing food production have led to some success so far. We have had the Green Revolution, which contributed to increase food grain production. We have also had the White Revolution, which has led to better and more efficient use as well as availability of milk. However, this revolution means that our natural resources are getting used more intensively. As a result, there are more chances of causing damage to our natural resources to the point of destroying their balance completely. Therefore, it is important that we should increase food production without degrading our environment and disturbing the balance maintaining it. Hence, there is a need of sustainable practice in agriculture and animal husbandry. Also, simply increasing grain production for storage in warehouses cannot solve the problem malnutrition and hunger. People should have money to purchase food. Food security depends on both availability of food and access to it. The majority of our population depends on agriculture for their livelihood. Increasing the income of people working in agriculture is therefore necessary to combat the problem hunger. Scientific management practices should be undertaken to obtain high yields from farm for sustained livelihood. One should undertake mixed farming, intercropping, and integrated farming practice. For example, combine agriculture with livestock, poultry, fisheries, beekeeping. The question thus becomes how do you increase the yields of crops and livestock? Improvement in crops yield. Cereals such as wheat, rice, maize, millet, and sorghum provide us carbohydrate for energy requirement. Pulses like gram, chana, pea, matar, and black gram, urad, green gram, moong, pigeon pea, arhar, and lentil, masoor, provide us with protein, and oil seeds including soybean, groundnut, sesame, castor, mustard, linseed, and sunflower provide us with necessary fat. Vegetables, spices, and fruits provide a range of vitamins and minerals. In addition to small amount of protein, carbohydrate, and fat. In addition to these fruit crops, fodder crops like barsim, oats, and Sudan grass are raised as food for the livestock. Different types of crops. Question: What do we get from cereals, pulse, fruit and vegetables? Comment this. Different crops require different climatic conditions, temperature and photoperiod for their growth and completion of their life cycle. Photoperiods are related to the duration of sunlight. Growth of plants and flowering are dependent on sunlight. As we all know, plants manufacture their food in sunlight by the process of photosynthesis. There are some crops which are grown in rainy season called the Kharif season from the month of June to October, and some of crops are grown in the winter season called Rabi season from November to April. Paddy, soybean, pigeon pea, maize, cotton, green gram and black grams are Kharif crops, whereas wheat, gram, peas, mustard, linseed and rabi crops. In India, there has been a 4-time increase in the production of food grains from 1952 to 2010, with only 25% increase in the cultivated land area. How has this increase in production been achieved? If we think of the practice involved in farming, we can see that we can divide it into 3 stages. The first is the choice of seeds for planting. The second is the nurturing of the crop plants. The third is the protection of the growing and harvested crops from loss. Thus, the major groups of activities for improving crop yield can be classified as crop variety improvement, crop production improvement, crop protection improvement. Next, crop variety improvement. This approach depends on finding a crop variety that can give a good yield. Varieties or strain of crops can be selected by breeding of various useful characteristics such as disease resistance, response to fertilizer, product quality, and high yield. One way of incorporating desirable characters into crop varieties is by hybridization. Hybridization refers to crossing between genetically dissimilar plants. This crossing may be intervarietal between different varieties, interspecific between two different species of the same genus, or intergeneric between different genera. Another way of improving the crop is by introducing a gene that would provide the desired characteristics. This result is genetically modified crops. For new varieties of crops to be accepted, it is necessary that the variety produces high yield under different conditions that are found in different areas. Farmers would need to be provided with good quality seeds of a particular variety. That is, the seeds should all be of the same variety and germinate under the same conditions. Cultivation practice and crop yields are related to weather, soil quality and availability of water. Since weather conditions such as drought and flood sanitation are unpredictable, varieties that can be grown in diverse climatic conditions are useful. Similarly, varieties tolerant to high soil salinity have been developed. Some of the factors for which variety improvement is done here. Higher yields to increase the productivity of the crop per acre. Improved quality. Quality consideration of crop products vary from crop to crop. Baking quality is important in wheat, protein quality is pulses, oil quality is oilseed, and preserving quality in fruits and vegetables. Biotic and abiotic resistant crop production can go down due to biotic disease, insect and nematodes, and abiotic drought, salinity, water, logging, heat, cold, frost. Stresses under different situations, varieties resistant to these stresses can improve crop production. Change in maturity duration. The shorter the duration of the crop from sowing to harvesting, the more economical is the variety. The short duration allows farmers to grow multiple rounds of crop in a year. Short duration also reduces the cost of crop production. Uniform maturity makes the harvesting processes easy and reduces losses during harvesting. Wider adaptability. Developing varieties for widened adaptability will help in stabilizing the crop production under different environmental conditions. One variety can then be grown under different climatic conditions in different areas. Desirable agronomic characteristics. Tallness and profuse branching are desirable character for fodder crops. Dwarfness is desired instead of so the less nutrients are consumed by this crop. Thus, developing varieties of desired agronomic character help give higher productivity. Question: how do biotic and abiotic factors affect crop production? 2. What are the desirable agronomic characteristics for crop improvement? Comment this. Crop production management. In India, as in many other agriculture-based countries, farming ranges from small to very large farms. Different farmers thus have more or less land, money and access to information and technologies. In short, it is the money or financial conditions that allow farmers to take up different farming practices and agricultural technologies. There is a correlation between higher input and yields. Thus, the farmer purchasing capacity for input decides cropping system and production practices. Therefore, production practices can be at different levels. They include no-cost production, low-cost production, and high-cost production practices. Next, nutrient management. Just we need as food for development, growth, and well-being, plants also require nutrients for growth. Nutrients are supplied to plants by air, water, and soil. There are several nutrients which are essential for plants. Air supplies carbon and oxygen. Hydrogen comes from water, and soil supplies the other 13 nutrients to plants. Among these, some are required in large quantities and are therefore called macronutrients. The other nutrients are used by plants in small quantities and are therefore called micronutrients. Table 1:15.1 Nutrients supplied by air, water and soil. Sources: nutrients. Air, carbon, oxygen. Water, hydrogen, oxygen. Soil, macronutrients as like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and micronutrients iron, manganese, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum, chlorine. Deficiency of these nutrients affects physiological processes in plants including reproduction, growth, and susceptibility to disease. To increase the yield, the soil can be enriched by supplying these nutrients in the form of manure and fertilizer. Questions: 1. What are the macronutrients and why are they called macronutrients? How do plants get nutrients? Comment this. Manure. Manure contains large quantities of organic matter and also supplies small quantities of nutrient to the soil. Manure is prepared by the decomposition of animal excreta and plant waste. Manure helps in enriching soil with nutrients and organic matter and increasing soil fertility. The bulk of organic matter in manure help in improving the soil structure. They involves increasing the water holding capacity in sandy soil. In clay soil, the large quantities of organic matter help in drainage and in avoiding waterlogging. In using manure, we use biological waste material, which is advantageous in protecting our environment from excessive use of fertilizer. Using biological waste material is also a way of recycling farm waste. Based on the kind of biological material used, manure can be classified as compost and vermicompost. The process is which farm waste material like livestock excreta like cow dung, etc., vegetable waste, animal waste, refuse, domestic waste, sage waste, straw, eradicated weeds, etc. is decomposed in pits in no adds composting. The compost is rich in organic matter and nutrient. Compost is also prepared by using earthworm to hasten the process of decomposition of plant and animal refuse. This is called vermicompost. Green manure. Prior to the sowing of the crop seeds, some plants like sun hemp or guar are grown and then mulched by plowing them into the soil. These green plants thus turn into green manure, which help in enriching the soil in nitrogen and phosphorus. Fertilizer. Fertilizers are commonly produce plant nutrients. Fertilizers supply nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. They are used to ensure good vegetable growth, leaf, branch, and flower, giving rise to a healthy plant. Fertilizers are factored in the higher years of high-cost farming. Fertilizers should be applied carefully in terms of proper dose, time, and observing pre and post application precaution for their complete utilization. For example, sometimes fertilizers get washed away due to excessive irrigation and are not fully absorbed by the plant. This excess fertilizer then leads to water pollution. Also, as we have seen in the previous chapter, continuous use of fertilizer in an area can destroy soil fertility because the organic matter in the soil is not replenished and microorganisms in the soil are harmed by the fertilizer use. Short-term benefit of using fertilizer and long-term benefits of using manure for maintaining soil fertility have to be considered while aiming for optimum yields in crop production. Next question, compare the use of manure and fertilizer in maintaining soil fertility. Comment this. Organic farming is a farming system with minimal or no use of chemical or fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides, etc. and with a maximum input of organic manure, recycled farm waste, straw and livestock excreta. Use of bioagent such as culture of blue-green algae in preparation of biofertilizer, neem leaves or turmeric specifically in grain storage as biopesticide. With healthy cropping system, mixed cropping, intercropping and crop rotation as discussed below in. This cropping system are beneficial is insect, pest, weed control besides providing nutrient. Irrigation. Most agriculture in India is rain-fed. That is, the success of crops in most areas is dependent on timely monsoons and sufficient rainfall spread through most of growing season. Hence, poor monsoon causes crop failure, ensuring that the crop gets water at the right stage during their growing season can increase the expected yield of any crop. Therefore, many measures are used to bring more and more agricultural land under irrigation. More to know. Droughts occur because of scarcity or irregular distribution of rain. Drought poses a threat to rain-fed farming areas where farmers do not use irrigation for crop production and depend only on rain. Light soil have less water retention capacity. In areas with light soil, crops get adversely affected by drought condition. Scientists have developed some crop varieties which can tolerate drought condition. India has a wide variety of water resources in a highly varied climate. Under such conditions, several different kinds of irrigation systems are adopted to supply water to agricultural land depending on the kinds of water resources available. This includes wells, canals, rivers, and tanks. Wells. There are two types of wells, namely dug wells and tube wells. In a dug well, water is collected from water-bearing strata. Tube wells can trap water from the deeper strata. From these wells, water is lifted by pump for irrigation. Next, canals. This is usually an elaborate and extensive irrigation system. In this system, canals receive water from one or more reservoirs or from river. The main canal is divided into branch canal having further distributaries to irrigate field. River lift system. In areas where canal flow is insufficient or irregular due to inadequate reservoir release, the lift system is more rational. Water is directly drawn from the river from the supplementing irrigation in areas close to river. Tags. There is a small storage reservoir which intercept and store the runoff of smaller catchment areas. Fresh initiatives for increasing the water available for agriculture include rainwater harvesting and watershed management. This involves building small check dams which lead to an increase in groundwater levels. The check dams stop the rainwater from flowing away and also reduce soil erosion. Cropping patterns. Different ways of growing crops can be used to give maximum benefit. Mixed cropping in growing two or more crops simultaneously on the same piece of land, for example, wheat plus gram, or wheat plus mustard, or groundnut plus sunflower. This reduces risks and gives some insurance against failure of one of the crops. Intercropping is growing two or more crops simultaneously on the same field in a defined night pattern. A few rows of one crop alternate with a few rows of a second crop, for example, soybean plus maize or finger millet, bajra plus cowpea, lobia. The crops are selected such that their nutrient requirements are different. This ensures maximum utilization for the nutrient supply and also prevent pests and disease from spreading to all the plant belonging to one crop in a field. This way both crops can give better returns. Intercropping. The growing of different crops on a piece of land in a pre-planned succession is known as crop rotation. Depending upon the duration, crop rotation is done for different crop combinations. The availability of moisture and irrigation facility decide the choice of the crop to be cultivated after one harvest. If crop rotation is done properly, then 2 or 3 crops can be grown in a year with good harvest. Crop protection management. Field crops are infested by a large number of weeds, insect pests and disease. If weeds and pests are not controlled at the appropriate time, then they are damage the crop so much the most of the crop is lost. Weeds are unwanted plants in the cultivated field. For example, Xanthium, Gokro, Parathenium, Gajor Ghash, and Cyperenius rotundus, Motha. They compete for food, space, and light. Weed takes up nutrient and reduce the growth of the crop. Therefore, removal of weeds from cultivated field during the early stages of crop growth is essential for a good harvest. Generally, insect pests attack the plant in 3 ways. They cut the root, stems, and leaves. They suck the cell sap from various parts of the plant. And 3. They bore into stem and fruit. They thus affect the health of the crop and reduce yield. Diseases in plant are caused by pathogens such as bacteria, fungi, and viruses. This pathogen can be present in and transmitted through the soil, water, and air. Weed, insect, and disease can be controlled by various methods. One of the most commonly used methods is the use of the pesticides, which include herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides. These chemicals are sprayed on crop plants or used for treating seeds and soil. However, excessive use of this chemical creates problems since they can be poisonous to many plant and animal species and can cause environmental pollution. Weed control methods also include mechanical removal, preventive methods such as proper seed bed preparation, timely sowing crops, intercropping, and crop rotation also help in weed control. Some other preventive measures against pests are the use of resistant varieties and summer plowing, in which fields are plowed deep in summer to destroy weeds and pests. Question 1. Which of the following conditions will give the most benefit? Why? A. Farmer use high quality seed, do not adopt irrigation for use fertilizer. B. Farmers use ordinary seed, adopt irrigation and use fertilizer. C. Farmer use quality seed, adopt irrigation, use fertilizer and use crop protection measure. Comment this. Table 15.2 Nutritional values of animal products. Animal products percent nutrients. Milk, cow, fat 3.60, protein 4, sugar 4.50, minerals 0.70, water 87.20, vitamin B1, B2, B12, D and E. Egg, fat 12, protein 13, sugar 0, minerals 1, water 74 and vitamin B2 and D. Meat, fat 3.60, protein 21.10, sugar 0, mineral 1.10, water 74.20, vitamin B2 and B12. Fish, fat 2.50, protein 19, sugar 0, minerals 1.30, water 77.20, vitamin niacin, D and A. Present in very small amount. Activity, visit a nearby garden, agricultural field and make a list of weeds and the flower crops found in the area. Also make a list of insect pests, if any, infesting the flower or crops. Activity, collect grains or seed of cereals, pulse and oil seed and gather information about the season in which they are sown and harvested. Storage of grains. Storage losses in agriculture produces can be very high. Factors responsible for such losses as biotic, insects, rodents, fungi, millets and bacteria, and abiotic, inappropriate moisture and temperature in the place of storage. These factors cause degradation in quality, loss in weight, poor germinability, discoloration of produce, or leading to poor marketability. This factor can be controlled by proper treatment and by systematic management of warehouse. Preventive and control measures are used before grains are stored for future use. They include strict cleaning of the produce before storage, proper drying of the produce first in sunlight and then in shade, and fumigation using chemical that can kill pests. Question: why should preventive measure and biological control methods be preferred for protecting crops? Number 2. What factors may be responsible for losses of grain during storage? Comment this. Animal husbandry. Animal husbandry is a scientific management of animal livestock. It includes various aspects such as feeding, breeding, and disease control. Animal-based farming includes cattle, goat, sheep, poultry, and fish farming. As the population increases and as living standards increase, the demand for milk, eggs, and meat is also going up. Also, the growing awareness of the need for human treatment of livestock has brought in new limitations in livestock farming. Thus, livestock production also needs to be improved. Cattle farming. Cattle husbandry is done for two purposes: milk and draught labor for agricultural work such as tilling, irrigation and carting. Indian cattle belongs to two different species: Bos indicus cows and Bos bovalis buffaloes. Milk producing females are called milk animal, dairy animal, while the one used for farm labor are called draught animals. Milk production depends to some extent on the duration of the located lactation period, meaning the period of milk production after the birth of a calf. So milk production can be increased by increasing the lactation period. Exotic or foreign breeds, for example Jersey, Brown Swiss, are selected for long lactation period, while local breeds, for example Red Sindhi, Sahiwal, showed excellent resistance to disease. The two can be crossbred to get animal with both the desired qualities. Indigenous male breed of cattle. Question: which method is commonly used for improving cattle breeds and why? Comment this. Activity: visit a livestock farm. Note the following: 1. Number of cattle and number of different breeds. 2. The amount of dairy milk production from the different breeds. Proper cleaning and shelter facilities for cow and buffalo are required for human farming, for the health of the animals and for production of clean milk as well. Animals require regular brushing to remove dirt and loose hair. They should be sheltered under well-ventilated roofed sheds that protect them from rain, heat and cold. The floor of the cattle shed needs to be sloping so as to stay dry and to facilitate cleaning. The food requirements of dairy animals are two types: a maintenance requirement, which is a food required to support the animal to live a healthy life, and milk producing requirement, which is the type of food required during the lactation period. Animal feed includes a roughage, which is a largely fiber, and B concentrates, which are the low in fiber. Contains relatively high levels of protein and other nutrients. Cattle need balanced ration containing all nutrients in proportionate amounts. Besides such nutrient food materials, certain feed additives containing micronutrients promote the health and milk output of dairy animals. Cattle suffers from a number of diseases. The disease, besides causing death, reduce milk production. A healthy animal fed regularly and has a normal posture. The parasites of cattle may be both external parasite and internal parasite. The external parasite live on the skin and mainly cause skin disease. The internal parasite like worms affect stomach and intestine, while fluke damage the liver. Infectious diseases are also caused by bacteria and viruses. Vaccinations are given to farm animals against many major viral and bacterial diseases. Poultry farming. Poultry farming is undertaken to raise domestic fowl for egg production and chicken meat. Therefore, improved poultry breed are developed and farmed to produce layers for eggs and broiler for meat. The cross breeding program between indigenous for acyl and foreign exotic, for example Leghorn, breeds for variety improvements are focused on to develop new variety for the following desirable traits: number and quality of chicks. Dwarf broiler parents for commercial chick production. Summer adaptation capacity or tolerance in high temperature. Low maintenance requirement. Reduction in the size of egg-laying bird and ability to utilize more fibrous, cheaper diets formulated using agricultural byproducts. Acyl, this is Leghorn. Question: discuss the implications of the following statement. It is interesting to note that poultry is India's most efficient converter of low-fiber foodstuff, which is unfit for human consumption, into highly nutritious animal protein feed. Comment this. Egg and broiler production. Broiler chickens are fed with vitamin-rich supplementary feed for growth rate and better feed efficiency. Care is taken to avoid mortality and to maintain feathering and carcass quality. They are produced as broiler and sent to market for meat purposes. For good production of poultry bird, good management practices are improvement. This includes maintenance of temperature and hygienic condition in housing and poultry feed, as well as prevention and control of disease and pest. The housing, nutritional and environmental requirements of broilers are somewhat different from those of egg layers. The ration daily food requirement for broilers is protein rich with adequate fat. The level of vitamin A and K is kept high in the poultry feed. Poultry fowl suffer from a number of diseases caused by virus, bacteria, fungi, parasites, as well as from nutritional deficiencies. This necessitates proper cleaning, sanitation, and spraying of disinfectants at regular intervals. Appropriate vaccination can prevent the occurrence of infectious disease and reduce loss of poultry during an outbreak of disease. Question: what management practices are common in dairy and poultry farming? What are the differences between boiler and layers and in their management? Comment this. Activity: visit a local poultry farm, observe types of breed and note the type of ration, housing and lighting facility given to them, identify the growers, layers and broilers. Fish production. Fish is a cheap source of animal protein for our food. Fish production includes the fine true fish as well as shellfish such as prawns and mollusks. There are two ways of obtaining fish. One is from natural resources, which is called capture fishing. The other way is by fish farming, which is called culture fishery. The water source of fish can be either seawater or freshwater, such as in river and pond. Fishing can thus be done both by capture and culture of fish in marine and freshwater ecosystem. Marine fisheries. India marine fisheries resources include 7,500 km of coastline and the deep seas behind it. Popular marine fish varieties include pomfret, mackerel, tuna, sardines, and Bombay duck. Marine fish are caught using many kinds of fishing nets from fishing boats. Yields are increased by locating large schools of fish in the open sea using satellite and echo sounders. Some marine fish of high economic value are also farmed in seawater. This includes fine fishes like mullet, vetki, and pearl spot, shellfish such as prawns, mussels, and oyster as well as seaweed. Oysters are also cultivated for the pearls. They make freshwater and marine prawns, Macrobrachium rosenbergi freshwater, and Pianus mondon marine. As marine fish stock get further depleted and demand for more fish can only be met by such culture fisheries, a practice called mariculture. Inland fisheries. Freshwater resources include canals, ponds, reservoirs, and rivers. Brackish water resources where seawater and freshwater mix together, such as estuaries and lagoons, are also important fish reservoirs. While capturing fish is also done in such inland water bodies, the yield is not high. Most fish production from these resources is through aquaculture. Fish culture is sometimes done in combination with the rice crop so that fish are grown in the water in the paddy field. More intensive fish farming can be done in composite fish culture system. Both local and imported fish specific are used to such system. In such system, a combination of 5 or 6 species is used in single fish pond. These fishes are selected so that they do not compete for food among them, having different types of food habit. As a result, the food available in all the parts of the pond is used. As cutlas are surface feeder, roes feed the middle zone of the pond, and mrigal are common crabs, the bottom feeder, and the grass crabs feeds on the weeds. Together, these species can use all the food in the pond without competing with each other. This increases the fish yield from the pond. A katla, B silver carp, C roe, D grass carp, E megal, F common carp. One problem with such composite fish culture is that many of these fish breed only during monsoon. Even if fish seed is collected from the wild, it can be mixed with that of other species as well. So a major problem in fish farming is the lack of availability of good quality seed. To overcome this problem, ways have now been worked out to breed this fish in pond using hormonal stimulation. This has ensured the supply of pure fish seed in desired quantities. Questions: 1. How are fish obtained? 2. What are the advantages of the composite fish culture? Commentaries. Activity: visit a fish farm in fish breeding session and note the following on variety of fish in fish farm, types of pond, speed in breeding use, production capacity of the farm. If there are no fish farm close to your locality, gather the above information from the internet by referring books or talking to people who are engaged in fishery. Beekeeping. Honey is widely used and therefore beekeeping for making honey has become an agricultural enterprise. Since beekeeping needs low investment, farmers use it as an additional income generating activity. In addition to honey, the beehives are a source of wax which is used to various medicinal preparations. The local varieties of bees used for commercial honey production are Epicerana indica, commonly known as the Indian bee, A. dorsata, the rock bee, A. flowery, and the little bee. An Italian bee variety, A. mellifera, has also been brought in to increase yield of honey. Arrangement of beehive in an apiary, B. honey excretor. This is variety commonly used for commercial honey production. The Italian bees have high honey collection capacity. They sting somewhat less. They stay in a given beehive for long period and breed very well. For commercial honey production, bee farms or apiaries are established. The value or quality of honey depends upon the pasturage or the flowers available in the bees for nectar and pollen collection. In addition to adequate quantity of pasturage, the kind of flower available will determine the taste of the honey. Questions: 1. What are the desirable characters of the bee varieties suitable for honey production? 2. What is the pasturage and how is it related to honey production? Comment this. What you have learned. There are several nutrients essential for crops of these. Some are required in large quantities, are known as macronutrients, whereas rest of nutrients are required for small quantities, are known as micronutrients. Manure and fertilizer are the main source of nutrient supply of crops. Organic farming is a farming system with minimal or no use of chemical as fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides, etc., and with a maximum input of organic matter, recycled from waste and bioagent with healthy cropping system. Mixed farming is a system of farming on a particular farm which includes crop production and raising of livestock. Mixed cropping is the growing of two or more crops simultaneously on the same piece of land. Growing two or more crops in definite row patterns is known as intercropping. The growing of different crops on a piece of land in pre-plant succession is called crop rotation. Varietal improvement is required for higher yield, good quality, biotic and abiotic resistance, shortening the maturity duration, wider adaptability and desirable agronomic characteristics. Farm animals require proper care and management such as the shelter, feeding, breeding, and disease control. This is called animal husbandry. Poultry farming is done to raise domestic fowl. Poultry production includes egg production and broiler production for poultry meat. To enhance poultry production, crossbreeding is done between Indian and exotic birds for variety improvement. Fish may be obtained from marine sources as well as inland resources. To increase production of fish, they can be cultivated in marine and inland ecosystem. Marine fish captured and done by fishing net, guided by echo sounders and satellite. Composite fish culture system, commonly used for fish farming. Beekeeping is done to get honey and wax. Exercises: explain any one method of crop production which ensure high yield. 2. Why are manure and fertilizer used in fields? What are the advantages of intercropping and crop rotation, which is genetic manipulation? How is it useful in agricultural practices? How do storage grain losses occur? How do good animal husbandry practices benefit farmers? What are the benefits of cattle farming for increasing production? What is common in poultry, fisheries and beekeeping? 9. How do you differentiate between capturing fish, mariculture and aquaculture? Comment this.